Handle your high with Tadayoshi. All right, well, hey, we got Neil Hill with me. Hey, Neil, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being on.
Hey, first and foremost, obviously, I appreciate your time, Tad. Obviously, we've both been in the industry for a long, long time, and I know that this is something that we've obviously wanted to do together for quite some time, jump on you and obviously have a conversation and share our knowledge and experiences, obviously, with the viewers and everybody within the fitness community. So I appreciate it. And also you guys and girls which are making the time to hopefully check out this interview with myself and Tad. I appreciate you. I know you're obviously all very, very busy, especially coming into Christmas season. Oh, yeah. But I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, are you, now you said you're headed back home, right, to England?
Yeah, so tomorrow I'll be heading back to the UK. So I arrived back in the UK very early in the morning. I say very early, about 6:30. But I got to get back to Wales very, very quickly because I have an appointment with a surgeon tomorrow. Oh. So not tomorrow, sorry, on Wednesday. So it's a bit of a long journey from London Heathrow back to Wales, where I live in Wales. Oh. By train, it's like 6.5 hour journey. So I need to get back as quick as I can. Yeah, I kind of live in the middle of nowhere, but I like that.
Yeah, so that could be a good thing or a bad thing, right?
Yeah, I like peace and quiet. You know, I love my work. I'm very passionate about what I do. But I like the fact that I can completely switch off, still be switched on with my work, but switched off from life. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. And I've seen you made some posts recently about your children, when your kids had a birthday last month or something.
That's right, yeah. And just last week, really, yeah.
It kind of probably helps give a sense of grounding. I would imagine everybody I've ever met from the UK, especially from those outer areas, have such a really wonderful, grounded sense about things.
I think that pretty comes down to parenting and obviously who you are, what values or what you think you want in life. Yeah. So, you know, me and my ex-wife, we split up quite some years ago, probably like about 8 years ago. And I've obviously got two boys. My youngest was 18 last week. My oldest is 20. My youngest just passed his driving test. So when I get back, obviously we're looking at cars, etc. I love my time with my boys, and it's, you can't put a value on it. Time is very precious. So I'm looking forward to being back in the UK, seeing my boys, seeing my mum, seeing my friends, and also be back in my gym training. You know, where it all started for me. You know, it's a real dungeon. So there's a lot of things that I'm excited about going back to the UK for.
Oh, nice. Now, what's the weather's kind of. Is it wet right now?
The weather is not good. I looked at the 10-day forecast and it's shite. It's like really bad. It's rain pretty much every day for about the next 10 days. But that's obviously the foreseeable 10 days. What the next 10 days and the next 10 days are going to be after that, it's probably going to be a lot of bad weather. But that being said, going back to the UK and enjoying good British Welsh food. And it doesn't matter what the weather's doing outside, mate. As long as I got my gym and as long as I got my time with my boys and my friends, and I'm happy.
Oh, that's good. That's good. This is a fun time of year, especially with the holidays and stuff.
Yeah, and then Flex is obviously, he's also back in the UK as well. He arrived back in the UK on yesterday morning. Yeah, he arrived back yesterday morning, so I'll actually be seeing him. We'll be spending some time together when I go back to the UK. We only live about 40 minutes apart from each other. So where he's from with his parents, where I'm from in Wales, it's about a 40-minute drive. So we'll get some time together when I'm back there as well.
Now, I thought like several years ago, I thought my memory could be failing me, but I thought that several years ago when we talked, you were considering moving out to the States or something like that nature. No?
Yeah, I mean, the US obviously has a lot to offer within the fitness industry, yes? But the industry has changed so much, Tad. If we look at life today and we look at the industry, everything is off a platform, a social platform. And to be honest with you, I don't feel like it matters where you live in the world. Is that if you're very passionate and you have dreams and aspirations and you have a want to do something which completes you, then most businesses, it doesn't matter where you're in the world, people will either travel or you have the ability to obviously reach out. And obviously this is what we're doing now. We're reaching out to everyone around the world through this, this amazing platform. So for me, I can live anywhere in the world as long as I have internet access. I can work. And it doesn't make any difference if I'm in the UK or I've spent quite a bit of time in Dubai this year with clients and whether I'm in the US or the UK or wherever it is, as long as I have my internet, I can work. And also, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. You're never going to be next to everybody who are your
Right.
potential clients. Me and Flex have been working together for 16 years. Next year will be 17 years that we've been working together. There was a number of years, a good number of years that our ability to have that personal time together, like we once did when we first started working together, was very limited because obviously he was living in the USA. So for me, I like the ability to have the diversity to be able to make choices and be at different places. And I like my time with my clients. So it's very important for me that I get my personal time with my clients, whether it's a Flex Lewis or whether it's a Blessing or whether it's a Jon DelaRosa. I mean, obviously, Willam Boca and myself had a very successful, career together for 6 years. Willam was living in Amsterdam. I was living in the UK. And within that time frame that we worked together for 6 years, Willam and myself spent very, very, very little time together through prep. Normally, I would go out to Amsterdam, stay there for anywhere between 1 and 4 to 5 days throughout our maybe 16-week prep. And the only time I would see him then would be basically 3 to 5 days before show day when we'd meet up, obviously, in the city and the country, wherever he would be competing. So, you're a prep coach. You obviously, all your clients don't live in the same city or town as you.
Hardly any of them do.
I feel that if you communicate and you're very online with your clients, then it doesn't matter where you live in the world. It's you're able to do your work.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like you said, with the current technologies and such it's much easier to do what we do, and as long as you get good feedback.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I love having my one-on-one time with my clients. It's one of the reasons why I really enjoy doing what I do. I get a chance to talk and inspire, but also just get to know people and sort of envelop more people into my family, into my circle.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm a connecting kind of a person, and I like that. But and I know I see you do too. So, but you mentioned a couple people, and I wanted to get into this and ask you a couple questions about Flex Lewis this coming year and what's got you. He's had such a successful career so far, and him moving into the open category in the open division, very exciting. I think a lot of people had wanted that to happen in years past, or at least had projected it. But what's your take, and and we talked a little bit about it backstage at the Olympia this last year. But what is most exciting to you right now, moving into that, and what do you kind of foresee?
So, Flex has been a very successful athlete in multiple divisions. Obviously, he really dominated the industry worldwide, winning a lot of internationally recognized events as an amateur. Obviously, became a professional. Went into the 202 class, obviously just the right time. It was kind of perfect timing for him. Built his way up, obviously, the 202 class, and obviously progressed into the 212 class and dominated that in that class for 7 years. At the same time as well is that even though there was a huge amount of success, and how Flex has handled himself as an athlete on stage and off stage, I think is remarkable. Because being a champion on stage is one thing, but how you hold yourself and carry yourself and represent yourself in the industry off stage is very, very different. The 212 class allowed us to fulfill a timing with his physique, which allowed us to basically grow into that class and mature and went on to dominate that class. But for the last probably 3 years of him winning that, so year 4, year 5 and year 6, and even year, it's definitely year 7, but definitely the last 3 to 4 years were difficult because I felt that we reached a level of maturity with his physique, which created a lot of limited factors on how much we could improve but stay in that weight class. So it was one of those divisions which was fantastic when we first entered that class, but we kind of outgrew it, or we potentially outgrew it. So when we look at obviously bodybuilding, or we look at our sports and what we do in the gym, sorry, this client's checking in with me from France, pictures are coming through. We go to the gym, it's a part of our therapy. We love to train, we love to lift. I've been in the gym today, I like my time with my gym, with my athletes training. It's therapy, and it gives us a purpose. The trouble is, in the off season, it was very difficult for us to have a purpose in that 212 class because ultimately we had to lose muscle to make the weight. So I've been kind of wanting us to go into the open class probably for the last 3 years, to be honest with you.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so it's something that I really felt that would be very suited for Flex. I know that obviously I'm not somebody who's willing to rush the process with my clients. That's something which I would never do. But what I'm saying is that in order for you to progress and reach your genetic potential, you need to have something which is going to push you and strive you. Yes, the 212 did that, but it also limited us the amount that we could put into our off-season training together. And I feel that now the open class is going to be a perfect fit for us to mature and grow into that division. Do I think that we're going to grow into that division overnight? No, it's going to take us a couple of years. That's the reason why we obviously took the time away in 2019. There was quite a few experts or individuals in the industry said, hey, it was a bad move. You shouldn't take 2019 off. You're going to lose your momentum. I don't believe that's the case. I feel that, you have to be very sensible. You have to nurture. You have to understand that there's a reason and there's a timing for everything. Do I feel that Flex Lewis could have placed very well at this year's Mr. Olympia? Yeah, I felt that he would have done very well at this year's Mr. Olympia. But our fixed goal was 2020. So it's irrelevant about 2019. There's obviously a new champion. There's obviously athletes which have moved up their ranking. The Olympia obviously saw a number of key individual athletes who were not in that event. And obviously other athletes were taking places, which is great for them. But our eyes are purely fixed on 2020, and it's very, 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 very personal. Do I feel that Flex has the ability to do very well? He can win that fucking show. He can win the Open Mr. Olympia. Do I think that's going to happen? We're going to do everything that we can to bring, a new Flex Lewis to the stage in 2020, and I'm excited. How and what we place, obviously, will be in the future. We'll see what happens. But we've just come to the end of a deload phase, so he had a very productive off season. Basically, about 10 weeks ago, I put him into a deload phase where I'm allowing his body to rest up and recover, and then before we go into 2020. And in this deload phase, he's exactly 11 pound up compared to this time in our last deload. Super, super, super healthy and extremely responsive. So 2020 is when obviously we'll flick the switch and it will really be full-blown prep. Whereas we've never done that. We haven't done that probably for about 5 or 6 years. So because obviously, we grew into that division at 212 and we were at the limit for many, many years. I do feel that, we brought a great look to the stage in 2018, where obviously you retired from the 212 class. There's very few athletes which have stepped away from a division or retired at their all-time best. If we look at past Mr. Olympia champions who stepped away from the stage at their all-time best and never came back, I would say, to be honest with you, off the top of my head, the only athlete I can think of is probably Lee Haney.
Right.
Lee Haney came in his best ever when he retired, and then obviously the following year, Dorian obviously took that place. Dorian dominated that class for many, many years, but I wouldn't say that Dorian retired at his best. I wouldn't say Ronnie retired at his best. Jay Cutler never retired at his best. So I'm excited, I'm very, very excited, but I also am very respectful towards the athletes who are going to be going into 2020. I feel that those places and those titles are very, very wide open.
Do you think, where do you think I guess the criticism is that that because of his stature, that there might be he might get out muscled, he might need a couple of years to grow into it. But I've always felt that he's had such this is just my personal opinion. When I see him on stage, he looks so much bigger than he really, really is. And if he's able to come into the open class, I don't think it's going to be quite so, there won't be nearly as much of a challenge to be able to not get out muscled. But what do you think? And where do you think he'll probably fall?
I think that, let's break this down into bodybuilding and let's just be really honest. I was never educated on what the perfect body is. Now, I've heard obviously different judges' perspectives on this. And if we were to sit down and speak to every judge and we were to ask them, can you please tell me why you placed this athlete in this place? Not criticizing their judging, asking them. Some of those judges might like different qualities. So we know it's a subjective sport, and that's very important in our industry. And also we need to be very open-minded. But bodybuilding to me is supposed to be about proportions, symmetry, shape, how things flow, definition, separation, hardness, refinement. It's supposed to be a blend of all of those things. Muscularity is just one factor of what bodybuilding is supposed to be. Just one factor. Let's look at Willam Boca. Willam is very similar in stature as far as height compared to Flex. Willam Boca had done pretty fucking well as an open class athlete. Personally, he could have won this. He could have won this year's Mr. Olympia. Do I think that Willam was at his best? I don't feel that Willam was anywhere near his best, but I still feel that his condition this year potentially was good enough to win. Now, am I saying that I feel that Willam should have won this year's Mr. Olympia? No, I feel that Brandon, Willam, and Hadi, I feel that they were all very different with their physiques, what they brought to the stage, and I think that any one of those athletes could have won in Las Vegas. That's my personal opinion. But remember, let's look at each of those individuals. All right, Willam, Brandon, and Hadi, they're all completely different. But Willam is still short. He's the same height as Flex. So my point is that if Willam can step on stage and be extremely competitive and win major titles, and he's won some major titles, then that should give everybody the open-mindedness to understand that what is different about Willam Boca's height and structure compared to Flex. They're similar in height and structure. Flex is naturally wider than Willam in his shoulders. Willam has more mass than Flex. But in 2020, remember, we're going to bring a different look to the stage. So let's not start judging a past 212 athlete with today's open class athletes. Let's be open-minded. And, Willam was a work in progress with me when we started working together like 6-7 years ago. He progressively moved up the ranks. There's a lot of talent out there. I think there's a lot of talent out there. But at the same time...
I'm sorry to interrupt, but where did Willam fall in when at the Olympia, like weight-wise? I mean, what's the comparison there?
I don't know, because obviously I wasn't prepping Willam this year's Olympia, but let's just go back to...
The previous years.
Let's go back to previous years, roughly about 232, roughly 232. But remember, Willam is very densely muscled. He's got these crazy full muscle bellies. He's got some great muscle groups. Fucking love Willam's physique. Great physique. And, I'm not an arrogant individual. And listen, I'm not a fanboy of anyone in the sport. If I see a physique I like, I'm very respectful, and I like that. Whether that athlete is working with another prep coach or whether they prep themselves, you can't not show respect to somebody's hard work and what they bring to the stage. I mean, if you cannot appreciate art at its finest, then I think you're a pretty sad individual. Right. I'm not a Flex Lewis fanboy. I'm not a fanboy of anyone, but there are athletes that I look up to and admire, and Willam Boca's physique is one of those. The same as Brandon Curry, the same as Hadi Chopper, the same as these athletes, when they're 100% on the money, they really shine. So I don't have a weight that I feel that we have to look or we have to bring. I have a look that I feel that we need to bring to the stage. And to me, that is what I'm only focusing on. I'm not worried about the weight. I do feel that, weight and muscle is a byproduct of obviously the illusion on stage, 100%. But at the same time is that I feel sometimes people force the development of muscularity and more muscle and then start losing shape and structure. And I think that, when we look at Flex's physique, it's just a beautiful picture of art. And that is what I want us to bring to stage. I want us to bring a new level of muscularity with what we bring with our condition to a very beautiful, pleasing physique. And I feel that is bodybuilding. I feel that is what we should be striving for. And what the judges place, it will obviously we'll be happy and content because we know we're going to bring our best in 2020. But remember, this is just a whole new journey. Remember, Tad, this is all new. So the best version of Flex Lewis might come in 2021 or 2022. But we're just focusing on 2019 and enjoying the rest of this year. And then in 2020, we'll flip the switch and then it will start getting serious.
I remember in previous years, it was always like you had told me it was very difficult for Flex to get down to that 212. He basically had to lose muscle, and you said it earlier. So my guess is he's going to be considerably heavier in weight this next year.
Probably be anywhere between 10 and 16 pound heavier.
That'll be significant on stage, especially if he's bringing the same kind of quality of
Yeah, so
conditioning.
and if that's the case, 222 to 228, thereabouts. But at the same time, as I said, we're striving for a look.
Right.
I mean, we did a lot of work together this year in our off season and did some really cool stuff. And obviously, when I was cycling his diet and his training, and bringing his fat levels down, he looked really freaky at 238. I mean, like really freaky. Not stage ready, but I'm talking about like 8% body fat at 238 and looked incredible, like really incredible. So, we're focusing on our game plan, focusing on obviously what we look like in the mirror. And yes, there are individuals which inspire us when we look at their physiques, but you really can't get caught up in that because unfortunately there's so much talent out there. I think that you would lose your focus. And that's the same for all the athletes in the team. Whether it's Jon DelaRosa, whether it's Alex Cambarero or Steve Lauriers, or, these are just a handful of athletes I'm talking about. They're all very different. And there's so much talent out there which you have to respect. You just have to focus on your goals.
For Flex, is it someone? Do you have to keep his calories? I'm just curious from a technical standpoint. Do you keep his calories pretty high in the off season to get?
Difficult because Flex's appetite is not the best at great at the best time, and unfortunately, when he travels, he loses structure. As much as he tries to apply himself, he loses structure. And when he loses structure, he loses appetite. And when he loses appetite, I can see Flex going from looking exceptional within like 3 to 5 days, looking terrible. Now, to somebody else, they might say he looks amazing, but I'm just comparing what I saw 3 to 5 days before. So obviously, we need to just be very mindful on how much he travels in 2020. At the same time, he obviously has obligations to his sponsors, and Yamamoto are incredible, and supporting and obviously where they need to. And obviously, that's just one of the companies obviously he's aligned with. So he is somebody, as I said, which is difficult when it comes to eating, and that's why we need to pay so much attention to his overall digestive health in general, to make sure that there is no free radical responses taking place from food allergies, etc.
I know a couple of years ago he had some gnarly issues with some coming into the Olympics. Still ended up winning, of course, but had some pretty bad intestinal stuff going on, and you guys had a hard time figuring it out. But I think you figured it out.
Yeah, well, basically, I felt that there was allergies relatable to food choices for quite some time, but it was quite a few years before he actually had a full allergy test. And when we did, there was about 18 foods that he was consistently eating, which were just completely intolerant to him. And obviously, you think about it, we squeeze ourselves into a weight category. The only way that we can fill out from that weight category after making weight is obviously through the form of hydration and macronutrient values. So obviously, a lot of foods that we were consuming in higher amounts then were having an active negative response. But that's obviously in the past. But I feel that we've got a really good strategy going forward.
So you mentioned Jon DelaRosa. I love Jon. He's a good friend of mine, and he's such an awesome dude. And I was really happy to hear that you were working with him. That he had somebody that I thought could guide him really well. He's had some good coaches in the past, but just never really hit his mark very well as a pro. And I watched him as an amateur going through the ranks, and really, really felt that he had a special physique. So I was very, very pleased with the end results of the last couple shows. I think you helped him he had 2 shows, right? 1 or 2 shows?
Yeah, so he won the Puerto Rico, and then the week later he won the Toronto. I think it was 1 week later when they won Toronto. Yeah. And I felt we brought a great level and look to those stages. I felt for the Olympia, his body just started to burn out towards the end because his season started very early. I know that 2018 for Jon was very challenging on a personal side of things, and I felt that we had started like five steps back when we started working together in January this year. There was a lot of things that we needed to fix with his physique first of all, which put us like 2 or 3 steps or 5 steps back. But as the time went on, we was able to address and fix the issues, and then his body started to be more responsive. We went into the New York Pro, knew it was never going to be our best at that show, because there wasn't the time, and also don't forget as well, you said he's had some great coaches, and he has had some very respectable great coaches, but never brought that look where you need to bring to be competitive, be competitive. And that's obviously not a criticism towards John or anyone else. There was a lot of things that I did with John here that he's never done before, but all in the positive health side of things. And, for Puerto Rico and Toronto, I felt we really nailed it. It was a really great level of fullness, refinement, detail, hardness. I remember seeing John walking out and prejudging in Puerto Rico. I remember looking and thinking, fuck, man, you look impressive. And it takes a lot to impress me when I see an athlete on stage. It was looked in was like, wow. Now, did he look anything different than what I was expecting? No. But it's just remember, as a coach, you're there with your athletes. For the first time, I had the chance to be on the sideline and disconnect myself emotionally and just see him obviously grace the stage. And it was pretty spectacular. And I know the feedback, obviously, from the judges was very positive, because I think they obviously seen the same amount of talent in him for many, many years. And John's a very respectful, liked individual in the industry. So I think that, the feedback was very positive. Going into Olympia, the prep was great. But I just felt towards the end his body just became very, very tired. That being said, obviously we're now mid through 2019 December. He's up to like 267, and his body fat's about 9%. He looks great. He looks exceptionally good. I was just actually watching a video of me and John training arms together, which is going to be launching in 2020, the Y3T subsite and website. And he's looking super, super good at the moment. John is like very good. And if you compare John now compared to this time last year, it's like a whole different person. You'd think there's 3 or 4 years of training and nutrition and hard work which has gone into it. So it's exciting. Yeah, it's exciting.
What's the biggest changes that you made that you saw that you needed improvement on?
I think that obviously the training strategy that I implemented with John has been super responsive. I felt that, in the past, training is obviously a byproduct of your hard work. But when we look at obviously the human body, there's so many variables which come into play. We know that obviously to break down muscle tissue, you need to create load. But our genetic makeup can be very, very different. And I felt that John was possibly training very one-dimensional for such a long time that creating positive response and change was limited. So obviously there's a lot of changes taking place with training. And then when it came to supplementation and his diet, there was a lot more variability and more balance within his diet. There was a lot more attention going into his overall digestive health as a whole and making sure that his endocrine system was firing in line with his digestive system. And things just obviously just very, very much aligned. And his blood work has come back multiple times in a very good way. And obviously that is great, because blood work is always going to go hand in hand with creating obviously positive changes. You cannot keep pushing your foot on the gas and creating change and then abusing yourself internally, because unfortunately at some point, it's just going to come back and it's just going to be a negative. So John's very healthy, responsive.
Good. Yeah, and I was very pleased. But I knew he had it in him. I think he's just probably just been. He's one of those guys. I think that will just keep putting his foot down.
Yeah. Yeah, more is better. More cardio, less boost. Doesn't work like that. And of course, obviously, he's Flex's trainer partner. They're very similar strength, very similar structure. They work and bounce off each other very, very well. So this Flex feels challenged with John's strength and size in the gym, and I feel that's very much the same way towards Flex how John feels. And then obviously you've got that mutual respect for each other, and they both obviously want what's best for each other as well. So I feel that there's a great team going on at the moment, especially in the Dragons layer. It's great to be in there. Absolutely.
We end up emulating the successes of the people that we hang around the most. So it's kind of it's very important. I see. So after talking about all these kinds of things, what when I look back at my career and you and I are around the same age, and it's as you said earlier, the industry's changed a lot over the years, and especially the current industry is very social media driven. But in terms of working with the athletes, what has been, because you've worked with athletes for a long time as well, and what's been one of the things that the hardest thing to overcome or learn through the process in your career so far working with athletes that you've experienced?
I don't know if there's anything actually which is being challenging. Now, don't get me wrong, different individuals are emotionally different Okay, different individuals respond in different ways emotionally, and people are different individuals, and they're different. And I don't think there's one thing, to be honest with you. I'm very hard on my athletes, so I'm very hard and I'm very real on my athletes. I don't have time for bullshit. I don't have time for excuses. I have time to listen, and I have time to support, but I don't really have time to hear bullshit excuses why somebody's not willing to work hard. That being said, listen, we don't live in a perfect world, and I don't care what anybody says. Social media makes individuals look so strong and powerful and positive. It's not like that, Tad. Everybody has shit days. Everybody has shit moments. But unfortunately, social media, in most cases, people are afraid to show weakness. Weakness is a good thing. Weakness is not a bad thing. It's how you extract that weakness and then you change it into something which inspires you. So I don't think there's one thing. I think the only thing that I find a little frustrating with the way that our futures are moving forward is I think that social media has created an environment for a lot of negative and false and bad information, and also people feeling that they have to attain a certain level of look or to be acceptable, etc. And also, let's just look at sport in general, and let's just look at sport in general. Forget about bodybuilding, that's just one sport. Sport identifies and celebrates and allows people the ability to follow their passion and then hopefully be rewarded with their places. The trouble with social media is that there are so many social celebrities which have actually attained nothing in their chosen sport. And I find it a little sad, not because I am jealous or envious of other people's success. The truth is, if I didn't have a business, I would not have social media, because the people that I really care about and I love and I want the best for, they're in my phone book as my friends or family members, and a lot of those people are actually clients of mine. So my point is that I don't need to communicate through a social platform. I'd rather do that on a personal level. But unfortunately, I think social media has created a very false environment and a lot of insecurities. And I find that pretty sad, but we're not going to change it. It is what it is. But I feel that that's the only thing that I find maybe a little bit frustrated. Maybe there are people out there which don't agree with me, and that's fine. But I find that social media can have positives and it can also have very negatives. Because remember, I've been around a lot of people, and then when I look at their posts, I'm like, that's not the person you are. You can actually be a real asshole sometimes. Or, you can be a real diva, but your social media platform makes you look like, a very positive person. And it's like, and even its comments sound negative. I'm not a negative person. I'm just saying that this is the environment and the world we live in, yes?
Absolutely. I think we have a lot of personalities, athletes, celebrities have one kind of persona that they display, and it's easy to display all the good stuff, right? Like, yeah. And but you're right. Like, what's real is everyone's got good days, everyone's got bad days. I do as well. I try to the attitude that I've always taken towards social media myself, and what I encourage in my athletes and other people that I just talk to is one, I make a couple rules for myself. One, I don't rant. That's not a platform for me to air bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that, like, I deal with that myself. If I have a complaint, I'll go directly to a person or something like that. But I don't feel like it's a great way to, like, give my 2 cents. I think that if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it in the best way that I possibly can. I think that giving something that I would tell my daughter, my litmus test is, would I have my daughter read this?
Yeah.
And so for me, and that doesn't mean I only want to show good stuff. I absolutely will talk about things that are challenging for me. Like most recently when I moved to here to Phoenix, it was really challenging for me the last 6 months to making this transition. I essentially broke up with my girlfriend, not for this reason. It wasn't. Yep. We still are wonderfully loving friends. It was time for me to make a transition in my life, for me to do new things. for me to be here and be near family. I wanted to be near my brother, but it was difficult. There were many aspects that was difficult, and it was very challenging. So I went through a little bit of a depression, or probably a little bit. So I talked a little bit about that, mostly because other people, I want them to know, look, man, we're all in this together. None of us are. I mean, as much as I love to present the positive side of things, and I do see life as absolutely half full all the time. The glass is always half full. I do have I have my moments like everybody else, but I don't want anyone to believe that this is the old, that I wake up every day and all I see is rosy skies all the time. Sometimes I don't. So there's that side of social media, and I make those kind of rules to always be transparent, always be as honest. But also, if I'm going to make a criticism of somebody, it's always going to be something that I would tell them as well in their face. Like, say, hey, one of the things that has always frustrated me is this. I think sometimes social media has given just about everybody a platform to be able to voice their opinion, which I think is good. But then everybody wants every opinion to be valid. Yeah. And while maybe it's valid to the individual, but it doesn't necessarily make it worthy of being valid to anybody else.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But on a positive note, I think it's helped grow the industry, the fitness industry as a whole, because we're able to spread these tendrils into bigger markets and more people who are interested in competing or in the fitness industry as a whole, and it's absolutely increased a fan base with athletes and with other who may not have ever seen it before. Because I remember in the 80s growing up in the bodybuilding industry, and we had just magazines, and and I had to wait like six months before I could know who won the Olympia, because I didn't have the money to go. So there's been some wonderful things. Nowadays, most of the fans hear about results real time, like right away, and that's pretty awesome. I think there could be some, like I said, I just think it just takes a conscientious effort on the individual who is viewing any athlete or any celebrity or anybody out there on social media that this is a side of that person. Yeah. This is not the complete person. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't let my daughter on social media just yet. She's only 11 though.
Right.
About right.
I'm lucky because my boys are 20 and 18, and even though Chad, my oldest boy, has social media platform, doesn't really engage. He has very little interest. I mean, I want him to explore. I think it's very good to be open-minded and explore out there. But at some point, obviously, his vision or his interests are going to change, and he's inquisitive. So yeah, there are positives with social media. There's no doubts about it. As you said, the industry has grown immensely through the form of social media. That being said as well, I used to love the fact that I would be excited every month to buy the new version of Flex Magazine or Muscle and Fitness. And I think that having something a hard copy of obviously what you've been waiting to view and see and learn on a monthly basis is really cool. It's like having pictures on the wall of your children or your family members. Like it's real. It's not just on a computer screen. It just becomes more personal. And that's a shame that we don't see that now. There's obviously a lot of companies which have struggled through the magazine industry, and have gone out into liquidation, or obviously bringing limited amount of information. And a lot of these companies are funded obviously by supplement companies, which is great. But a lot of these magazines are half filled with magazine ads as opposed to like real information. But hey, that's life. Yes, it might all turn and change one day, and I'm sure that we'll complain about that.
Right. I think a lot of people, what I hear, at least from the younger community that is coming into the sport, they generally aren't nearly as excited about magazines or that kind of thing. Everything is on their phone. Everything is on their device. And I totally can see that. And so I guess we just have to evolve with the world, right?
I'm just moving myself around so I'm more comfortable. Yeah. Sorry,
that's okay. Now, what's most exciting to you this moving into this next year? I mean, do you got anything new going on in terms of? I know you've been doing a lot of traveling, but I'm just curious if there was anything else going on outside of.
There's a lot of really exciting projects that I've been working on with my athletes, most of my athletes. So in 2020 February, I'll be launching the Y3T subsite, which is going to be an educational platform given real information on diet, supplementation, training, nutrition, mental stability, goal setting. The website will launch, the apparel line will launch, the accessory line will launch, so the app will be launching. So there's a lot of really cool things going to be taking place in obviously 2020. But at the same time, my focus really is on the athletes. I've already started prep the athletes who are going to be doing the Arnolds and obviously the first number of shows in 2020. I feel I've probably got the strongest team I've ever had as far as athletes going into 2020. I'm super excited. And I feel that every one of those athletes which are going to be competing have the ability to do very, very well. Now, of course, there are different levels and different categories and different divisions. Some of them amateur, some of them professional. And I'd say that this year has probably been the most successful year I've had as far as athlete success as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of exciting things taking place. A lot of really exciting things taking place. I know that in 2020, Yamamoto are going to be launching the official Neil Hill supplement line under the umbrella of Yamamoto, which I'm really excited about. And to have that opportunity to work alongside Dr. Gabrielle and obviously everybody at Yamamoto in the same way. Flex has got the Flex series. It's a phenomenal product line, like a very, very, very top-end supplement line that he's got with the Flex series within Yamamoto. So
you're going to have a line within there too?
Yeah, I'll have a line, but it will not be conflicting. I do not want to create confusion for the consumer. So I will, the supplements that I'm going to be choosing as far as what I want to bring to the marketplace will work synergistically alongside other products.
Will it release in both the US and the UK? I know there's different regulations.
It's going to be, the line will probably launch in FIBO, and not the full line, but basically, the initial launch. And then obviously at some point moving forward, those supplements will be available and come into the US. Now, I know that Yamamoto are looking to come in as a main distributor, probably going direct to consumer in 2020. I head over to Italy actually the end of December for 2 days to have a meeting with them. And obviously we're talking about strategizing the US market. People can buy that product already. So the consumer can go to www.yamamotonutrition.com and buy direct from America, and they do ship. Direct from Italy, and they do ship directly into the US. But at the moment, we do not obviously have a wholesaler or a retailer here in the US. So the idea is, okay, let's set up and go direct to consumer here, and then obviously we'll filtrate out. And then, the Flex series will be a big part of that. But there's a lot of exciting things taking place. But as much as I'm excited about these business things, there's a lot of work which goes into it. I'm so excited about the coaching side going into 2020. I have never lost my passion of what I do. I love what I do. I love the challenge. I do have high expectations, but I have high expectations from myself as well. So, and the team are working really important. That's something which is, I know I'm talking a lot, Tad, but
no, it's okay.
Team to me is so important. It's so important that, people are team players. And I know it's individual, and I applaud them and I encourage them to follow their individual goals and dreams. But at the same time, having a team family feel is very, very important to me. Without that, I wouldn't want those athletes in the team, to be honest with you.
So when you look at, you said a couple of times that you felt like this year was like you have had one of the strongest teams that you felt, and you're excited about them, which is wonderful. And it immediately conjures up for me success, and you've had several athletes who've had tremendous success, like Flex Lewis, and what does success, when you work with these athletes, and you talk about team, and you talk about this is an aspect that's very important to you, but what is that when you, as you're coaching these athletes, and you inevitably must have conversations about success and about what it means to them, and what it means to you, and what it means to you as you're on your team. What is that message? You know what I mean? Is it just winning shows, or is it something deeper or bigger than that?
No, because some people and a lot of individuals will be motivated by a title or a dream, and I get that. But you cannot just solidify and separate success purely on a trophy. I mean, I wrote this. I've been nominated for an award in the UK this year. Yeah, and you cannot measure success on a fucking trophy, because there's only one winner, Tad. There's only one winner. And unfortunately, genetics and hard work, and everything in between, and also just timing everything at that 1 minute, okay, can make a massive difference. You can't say that you're more of a successful athlete or person because you came first as opposed to the person who came second or third. Maybe that person who came second or third has less genetic potential, had to bust their ass 10 times harder, had to push further, mentally suffered more. Now, that doesn't mean that just because of all those things they deserve to win more, but what I'm saying is that there's so much talent out there. You have to respect that different people are at different places in their lives. So, you've competed at a very, very high level. Maybe your best ever look wasn't a look that you brought and you came first, but to you, it was your best ever look. So for me, I measure success basically on progress. If we're progressing and we're moving forward and we're seeing positive changes and everything that we're doing brings some form of self-contained happiness inside and balance, that to me is success. It's not just a trophy. Of course, I have goals and I have visions and I have demands on what I'm expecting and wanting from my athletes as far as their places on stage. But I also take and accept full responsibility for my part in that as well. And for me, the biggest success for me could be having an athlete who's doing his pro debut and gets in the top 6 of a pro show. That to me is like an Olympian win, because it's a massive achievement. There are so many great athletes who go on to win pro shows, which maybe don't even place in the top 3, 4, 5, 6. So, I don't measure off one thing. I'm very driven by my own insecurities and the areas I'm not so good in my life. I put my energy in the things that I am good at. And I don't live through my athletes. I live through my own vision and my own, strives or struggles, etc. And I'm still as passionate now as I was when I first started training when I was 19 years of age. And I think that's a compliment of the people I surround myself with, to be honest with you, because I feel that my athletes and my friends keep me young.
Well, having said that, what does, when you think of success for yourself, what does that mean?
Balance. Have a balance in my life where I can balance hard work and enjoy life. I like to travel. Travel to me is very important. I've had some really amazing experiences in the industry. I've been to Dubai, I think 4 times this year already, and I've become very, very close friends with an individual over there. And I've had some amazing life experiences, with this person and his family and his friends. And I know, like, for me, of course I want to see success. I'd like to see, all of my athletes go on to better themselves year after year after year. But I would not be reckless enough to allow that to take place without them being healthy and happy. There is a boundary with me, and it's a very fine line. One of the reasons why I stepped away from prepping Ramy this year is because I felt that there were things that he needed to prioritize more than Olympia. There were personal things that I've not spoken about, which I felt were more important. And I said, I can't prep you for this year. You need to address these things. They're more important than a fucking Mr. Olympia title. You might think that's everything. It's not everything.
Does he think it's everything?
Well, a lot of people do, but I think that, he understood, and I've got a good relationship with Ramy. He's a really nice person. I like him as an individual. I think he's an amazing athlete. I would love to see Ramy go on to win the Olympia and the Athletic Con and reach his full potential, because everybody wants to see that. Yes, it would just be a remarkable sight to see. But I felt that this year was not the year for him to focus on the Olympia. I felt that there were more important things, and I only felt that because I like to think that there are more important things in life than winning a trophy. Those trophies can be potentially won at some other point. Let's prioritize other things first. So, of course, I'd like to see Flex win the Olympia. I'd like to see Jon DelaRosa, bless him. I'd like to see Steve Laurier's Alex Cambarero win titles. Of course I would. I have high expectations of them. But to be honest with you, I tend to keep my personal ambitions close inside. I tend to be motivated, and I'm looking forward to buying a house again and having like a home to go to. Those things are important to me. Those things are very, very important to me, Tad. So, I have big expectations in 2020. I've over excelled what I was hoping we would achieve, as a team in 2019. So I feel that 2019 has been a very, very good year, and I'm just excited about how we're going to move forward going into next year.
Oh well, it sounds like it's like you got a lot of cool stuff going on. It especially sounds like when a lot of people talk about balance, it's hard. I get that. It's hard to have balance when you are successful. This is my personal opinion. The more success you achieve, the harder it becomes to find that balance because, business and these passions that we pursue tend to it become this idea of momentum. There's more momentum that gets rolling behind us with these things, and that's time consuming. How do you keep that balance? Because I know you have a great you have lots of things going on with your family and all that kinds of stuff. And those are things that are really important to you. And how do you maintain that balance and still get all this other stuff done? That's always the struggle.
Well, I have a great team of people behind me, and I've also got an amazing woman behind me. And she creates a lot of peace in my life, I would say. She supports me, and she pushes me, and she encourages me. But she also says, no, babe, you can't do that. You don't have time, or, she's very good at pulling me back when I need to. And that's not about control. That's about having somebody who has your best interest at heart. But I've always been pretty good at balance, to be honest with you. I did travel way too much this year. I traveled so much, Tad. If you saw my travel schedule this year, it really hurt me. It hurt me really hard. As far as the physical aspect of things, because I didn't train much, my eating was off point. But I did it because I felt that I needed to create the platforms which were necessary to give all the guys the opportunity in 2020 to springboard off. And that's what I've been, we've been working really hard with. There's a lot of people involved, and a lot of people that, need to take credit for the things that I do in the industry as well. It's very much a big part. Every single one of my athletes and clients are around the world. And I say athletes and clients because not all of my clients, remember, are competitive athletes. Some of these are everyday people. Some are celebrities. Some of them are extremely high in certain situations or places in their personal lives and their countries where they are. But all of those clients inspire me in some way. But I've got a great team of people behind me who are a big part of what I do. And it's important for me that that success is shared and it's enjoyed by everybody. So 2020, mate, is going to be the year that I have been working really hard for, probably for the last sort of 5 to 8 years. I had a vision with something. And I feel now I have never had a website. And you might say, what? You haven't had a website?
Yeah,
because I was waiting for something to add. I was waiting to align everything.
Oh.
And, 2020 is the year that it's all going to come together.
Yeah, that's pretty, that's almost unheard of
Yeah.
in this day. But you've been able to generate an immense amount of success in your life through what you love doing, and that's awesome. And even without a website, so anybody who tells you that you can't do something, that there are certain requirements required, like social media or like a website, or it just isn't true. Success can be created as long as you have a vision for it. Then all you have to do is just apply yourself and just continue to move towards it. Do you are you going to take any time off in the next couple of weeks and take some vacation time?
No, because I am busy, but I desperately do need a holiday, I feel. But the thing is, for me, holiday is for me just to go somewhere. Me and Alex will probably go somewhere in the Caribbean in the next 6 to 8 weeks, probably just for a week. I'll still work for maybe 2 to 4 hours a day, get my work done. But I can switch off. I'm very good at switching off. But the pressure is going to start coming like sort of towards February. The athletes obviously going to be midpoint of their preps. Arnold's going to be approaching, or towards the latter stages of their prep. So I'm looking forward to going back to the UK and actually finding my testicles are cold, mate, because here in Florida it's warm. So I'm looking forward to going back to the UK and feeling, obviously, the cold. I'm looking forward to Christmas dinner. I'm looking forward to seeing my friends and my family. And I like that. I got to go to Italy. I have a meeting in Italy with Yamamoto on the 27th and 28th. And I have a lot I have to do. I do have a lot I have to do. I've got to do a lot of filming and a lot of content. And meetings in the UK while I'm there. Me and Flex are going to be going to an awards. So there's a lot I've got to get done. But it's all fun stuff as well. It's not pressure. It's things that I enjoy. But I am very good at switching off when I need to. So I can switch off, and then I can go into, I can enjoy my time with Alex.
You're still getting the time to train though, right?
Yeah, I'm training hard at the moment. I am training hard. I had a lot of injuries. So when I go back to the UK, I told you I'm going to get back to Wales as soon as I can. I got to go and see the orthopedic surgeon because I have to have a total double hip replacement in 2020. Yeah, I got to get this done because it's creating a lot of pain and trauma for me. It's very difficult for me some days just to not be in a lot of pain and discomfort. But I'm looking forward to getting the operation done. I don't care about the rehab and everything like that. I'm looking forward to that. I'll document it. I think it'd be pretty cool. But I'm training hard. Yeah, I'm training hard. I'm enjoying my training. And that's one thing which was very hard this year. I traveled so much that my training was very limited and non-existent. But in the last sort of 8 to 10 weeks, I feel my body's been fairly responsive. And I've kind of got some muscle fullness taking place again. My strength has gone back up. And I've got that excitement going to the gym, so...
That's the one transition that has been the most difficult for me, coming from, and you probably experienced this too, coming from being an athlete and a competitive athlete, especially at a high level. Then I retired and did more judging stuff, and my training took sort of a second fiddle, if you will. And I didn't really, to be honest, I didn't want to push myself as much anymore. I didn't want to do all the drugs and all the stuff that I was having to do as an athlete. I didn't really want to do that anymore. I just want to be healthy. I want to maintain my physique the best that I can, and I think I have. But that was hard to go have that same level of purpose in the gym. Because I would go in the gym and I would just crush it, kill it. And every workout I look forward to, I wanted to go in there, and I didn't. And now it's a little. I don't do that. I have a different sort of tactic. Yeah, it's a different level of intensity. I'm not going to take any chances. I want to continue to use all my joints.
Yeah.
And 34 years of bodybuilding, our joints only have so many bends and moves, and before sometimes they can give out. Everyone's got a different shelf life on that stuff. No one's the same. Yeah. We're not all the same. So I want to be cognizant of that. How have you dealt with that? Because it was tough for me. It was hard to make that mental transition.
What was hard for me was. I've always come from a sporting background, so I suffered from dyslexia so bad as a kid, like terrible, way beyond what you think. My disability in school was a massive hindrance to me. So even though I was a happy kid, I was a very sad kid because I wasn't able to apply myself in school the way that I wanted to because I had massive learning issues. So for me, sport allowed me to be equal. Sport allowed me to show what I could achieve if I applied myself in something which never restricted me with any disabilities. And I was very, very good at sport. I swam for Wales. I was an international swimmer. I excelled in so many different sports, but it was my frustration which forced me to do that. And I can remember somebody saying to me once, "You're fucking good at everything." It's like, no, I'm just good at the things that I can do because there are so many things I can't do. And I believe that we can all be really good at something. You just have to find what it is. And because I can't express and do what I want to, it's the only way that I feel like I can be equal or feel like I can be accepted. I don't have to, somebody doesn't have to pat me on the back. I'm not an insecure person where people have to say, "Hey, you look amazing. You're great." But it allowed me to feel like I was normal. And I also came from a pretty poor family. So obviously being poor, couldn't read and write. I felt very I felt like very unequal, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So sport for me was my outlet. When I started bodybuilding at 19, I had no interest in bodybuilding. It just happened. What I didn't realize is that I was extremely genetically gifted. So when I applied myself and I trained, and for the first 3 years of training, I was so meticulous. I was like a professional athlete. I never missed a meal. I never missed a supplement. In fact, supplements were really not taken back then. I didn't miss a supplement. I didn't miss a meal. I trained. My nutrition was on point. I had no balance, though, because I was consumed by bodybuilding. I remember thinking, Neil, fuck, all you're doing is thinking about bodybuilding. There's got to be more to life. And then I took a different approach. Nobody taught me that. I took the approach of, well, look, if I want to take a day off, I'm going to take a day off. If I don't want to train for a week, I'm not going to train for a week. If I want to eat shit food, I'll eat shit food. I'm just going to like free fall and go through this where I create more balance in my life. And I felt that I was a happier person doing it. And I felt my gains were still consistent. When I was 22, I started my first cycle. My first ever cycle. And this is what frustrates me today with people. Tad, my very first cycle was 10 milligrams of Winstrol tablet. All right, with 5 2-milligram tablets. That's 10 milligrams. I put 16 pounds on in 8 weeks. My strength went through the roof. I was an absolute freak. I was just a freak when it came to certain things. And that's always been my philosophy. Minimal amounts. And then let's just look at the athletes. I'm not saying that all the athletes.
Do some of the athletes kind of give you pushback on that? Like, hey, well,
no, not at all. But what you'll find is somebody who's very new to me will be like, are you sure? Like, just follow the fucking process, because you're not taking care of other areas of your life. And then you think that drugs are the answer. It's like, it's not. Right. It really isn't. And it's true, Tad. It's a fact, And for me, I did really well as an amateur, and I was driven by symmetry, shape, and condition. Lee Labrada had a big impact on me because he was somebody that I was able to relate to. I had to be able to relate, and that's what's really important about the industry. That's something which is going to be really important about Y3T subsite, is that it's going to be an educational, relatable subsite with different people, because if we can't relate to somebody, how can we be inspired? Because we could all go into a room and listen to a motivational speaker and come out of there and think, fuck, man, I feel great. Tomorrow you wake up, you forgot about what happened yesterday. You'll go back to your normal lifestyle habits. It's important that you're able to relate to somebody. So for me, it was like, well, okay, Lee Labrada, he's not a big guy. He's similar height and structure. He's been successful. He carries himself well. So it allowed me to think and feel like, hey, this is somebody that inspires me, or somebody that I can feel like I could be similar to. I don't want to be Lee Labrada. I want to be myself. But he allows me to feel like there's a path for me. And I had a very, very successful amateur career. I probably could have turned pro many, 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 many years before I did. But because I liked my time away from the gym, and I liked my time with my family, and I liked my balance, I probably could have turned pro anywhere between 4 and 6 years before I did. Do I feel I wasted those years? No, because if I applied myself and became a pro many years before, then my family would never had my time, and that was really important to me. But what happened is that when I was born, I had a hereditary knee issue where my ligaments were not taut enough from birth. So my right knee used to float, and it used to dislocate itself very often. I always had that problem. So, of course, there was a lot of bone-and-bone contact over a period of time. When I started training, my knee was really bad. But because I was naturally very skinny and thin, extremely fit and agile, when I started training, I obviously started to build strength and stability in my knee, because obviously connective muscle tissue was allowing that area to be strong. But the problem had already taken place, and over a period of time, obviously my knee deteriorated. In 2002, I turned pro in September. But for about 3 years before that, I had major issues being able to apply myself in the gym the way I wanted. I did what I had to do. I didn't do what I wanted to do. So what happened is that I didn't have the interest in being a pro, because I'd been to a number of pro shows. I'd watched some of the pro shows and thinking, like, why is this guy not placing? Like, this guy should be much. And I kind of thought, I don't know if I actually want to be a pro, because if I am a pro and I'm not competitive, then where is the fun in that? But what happened is I was fortunate to win my pro card. I only did the show because it was prize money, and it was the money that I wanted. And it wasn't the pro card, but that was just the byproduct. And then what happened is that I did my pro debut. At the same time, just before that, I had to have laparoscopic surgery done on my knee to see how bad it was. And when they came back with the results, my knee was extremely deteriorated, about just over a fourth worn completely in my knee joint. There was no way. The 202 class wasn't there then. It was just the open class. And do I believe that I could have stepped into the open class and been competitive? Yeah, but probably after 3 years of training, there's no way that I could have applied myself for another 3 years in the gym, put another 20 pound of muscle on, which I do think I could because I was very freaky when it come to building muscle. But every pound I put on my weight, on my body, the more impact it was impacting my quality of life, because I was always in so much pain and discomfort. And I decided I'm just going to retire. I'm going to stop training. I won everything as an amateur. There's nothing there for me to achieve. I'm going to step away. And I was so unhappy and depressed. I stopped training for 6 years. Within probably 12 months, I went from, so when I was a pro, I was probably like 220, 225 at about 9% body fat. Within 12 months, I went down to 162 and I was about 18% body fat. And that was nothing to do with chemicals. I wasn't eating. I literally was just not eating. And I had a new focus because I started a new business in the UK and I was putting my time into that. But it was difficult. For 6 years, I felt very lost because bodybuilding and competing was a big part of me. It gave me a purpose. It gave me direction. And I can't compete unless I can be competitive. It just doesn't do it for me. It's just like, I don't have to win. Top 10 is a good placing, but my point was like, am I going to get in the top 10? Can I sacrifice 3 years of my life to commit myself to this and then find out like it's not going to happen? Because I believe that I can bring a physique which is going to be competitive, but is it going to happen? I don't know. So that's one thing I'm very honest with my clients. Sometimes I think they find it very harsh because I never give my athletes and clients false hope and dreams. There are some things which are just not, they're just not feasible. They're just out of our reaches. We have to be very honest. When people say anything's achievable, no, not everything and anything can be achievable. But if you set the bar high and you're realistic and you have short-term visions and goals and you keep striving and you keep hitting those, then success potentially will be a byproduct. And that success maybe get to that pinnacle point of your career. So yeah, it was hard, Tad. And it took me a long time, like over 6 years, to get back in the gym. And then I, eventually go back in the gym. I remember thinking, my body will respond. No, it didn't respond like it once did, but it did respond, pretty well. And for me, my training for me is just it's a lifestyle. I love my training, but I'm happier when I'm training with my athletes. I'm much happier when I'm in the trenches with the guys and not just freestyling it, because I love the intensity of what we do and how we bounce off each other. It doesn't make any difference if they're stronger than me. It doesn't make any difference if I'm stronger than them. It's the intensity and, like the self-belief and the determination and the purpose which gives me that inspiration to get in there and get shit done every day.
Do you get a chance to train with a lot of your athletes all year round?
Not obviously. It depends on where I am in the world. So, right. I spend quite a bit of time with Jon and Alex and Flex, because obviously I've been here for a number of weeks. But then when I go back to the UK, then obviously I'll be training with my friends back, obviously in the home gym. So I like to try and give my time as much as I can. Selfishly, most of the guys have to travel to me because I just have very limited time, if that makes sense. It's time is very short. So as long as they're able to work around my diary, I try to make sure that I'm available for everyone.
The funny thing is, I think in the last probably 15 or 18 years, probably last 15 years for sure, 10 years for sure, a lot of new guys coming into the sport, and gals, the emphasis on drugs and that kind of stuff, like you kind of mentioned before, is very heavy, especially the overuse, and less on training. Like I remember, like that's all we talked about in the 80s and 90s was, and people keep comparing. I hear this argument, and they compare sometimes some of the physiques of the 90s, which were there is a difference in the quality of physiques on several different kinds of stages. But I still say there's a ton of great physiques today. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
But there was if I was to say, when I went back and looked at some of the nationals and some of those shows, and just about everybody you saw in the top 10 were like they within some period of time they turned pro, but they were all so very, very competitive. And whereas today, it's not always like that.
No.
So it's not that we have bad competitors today. We don't, but we have very good competitors. Remember, sometimes we have unbelievable competitors today. but the quality isn't there. And I think probably because it's so much emphasis just placed on some of these. I hate calling it a shortcut. It's just another tool like anything else. Using drugs or using these different compounds that the industry uses to accelerate physiques, which is a necessity at the highest level. But the overemphasis on it and the abuse of it tends to, I feel, muddle the physiques. And you mentioned it earlier that less is better. I absolutely 100% agree that you don't need as much as you think you do. But more importantly, that the emphasis is placed on those things. And that's something that rather than on something that you can do. Like I can go to the gym, I can eat my food, I could be, like you said, like a machine. And that emphasis isn't there.
No, I think that if we look at we started off saying the industry has grown so much. Yeah, the industry has grown in all divisions, okay? But let's just look at bodybuilding then. And more so the open class, because let's be honest, the 212 division tends to bring their shit together as far as condition. And the same as the classic. Okay, the classic division is a great division. Why is it we can't see consistency with the open class guys? Because I think they're just abusing themselves. Like building muscle is very easy on a chemical front. It's very easy. But I've seen so much consistency where we see a lot of muscle with very little separation and detail and refinement. And I look at it, I think that's just drug muscle. It's not refined. It's not being worked for. Yeah, you can go to the gym and work hard, but understand, like, drugs are not just going to, or drugs are just one piece of a jigsaw. There are so many applications that you need to put in place for you to create that picture. And I find it sad. I find it very, very sad because I am really passionate about the industry. But as I said, there's a lot of really bad information out there. I will quite often try to take the time to spend 15 to 20 to 30 minutes most nights jumping on a live feed. And there's quite often people will ask me questions to do with chemical. When I see the question, I can see that they're quite naive with their questions they ask. And that's fine because, I like to answer questions. But sometimes on a public forum is not always the perfect environment for me to answer questions. But it's just that people think in order to see change, it's always going to be on a hormonal side of things. And it's always going to be from a protocol or a drug. And that's not the case. It's just not the case. And again, I've said, I don't care what other people are doing. I'm not interested in what other people are doing. I only have an interest in making sure my athletes are 100% healthy. And I try to instill balance and happiness into their lives. I don't do reckless shit. I don't play God with my athletes' health. I have no interest in that whatsoever. If that's what it's going to take to be and win a title, then I'm not going to be a part of that. I just believe that what we're doing is going to bring success on multiple different levels. And if we were to play the chemical advantage, then I feel that a massive percentage of my athletes would have gone backwards with their physiques. I feel that if you look at the team as a whole, everyone's moving forward and making improvements. And you don't look at the athlete and say, hey, that's chemical. No, you can see there's hard work and commitment and refinement and attention to detail through all the finest things, and not the chemical side, not at all.
And I won't put you on the spot on somebody on your team, but who have you been most excited about seeing in competition in the next year? When you look at, just on any, it could be somebody on your team, but it doesn't have to be.
Okay, I mean that's an awkward question because I'm looking forward to the rebirth of Jon DelaRosa.
Yeah.
Because I see what he's looking like now. I see his mental state, and I feel that Jon's gonna go up another one or two steps on the ladder. I also know that there's a lot of talent out there as well, so everybody's striving at that. I'm excited to see Flex step on stage as an open class athlete. I mean, that excites the shit out of me, because it's something that we've been planning for quite a few years, and this year has been, it's been a long year with a lot of hard work, and you guys and girls, you don't see that side of things, like you just see a polished diamond on stage. You don't see everything that goes into it behind the scenes. And it comes with a lot of responsibility, Tad, a lot of pressure and a lot of responsibility. I'm really excited about Blessing, one of my athletes. He's going to be making his pro debut. He's going to be a
He looks pretty freaky.
he is going to be a very, very, very successful pro. There's no doubts about it. Very, very hard working in the gym, like extremely hard working in the gym. I feel like sometimes I've got to pull him back because he's like a bull. But I can't single anyone out because it would be very, very unfair. Like it would be very, very unfair. They all bring something very different. And as I said, we're striving to be better every year. And if we can do that, and then I feel that the progress or the direction we're heading with what we're doing as a team is positive. Yeah, everyone's going to stumble at times. People look at Flex Lewis and say, hey, man, what a successful athlete. We've stumbled a couple of times. We've had to dust ourselves down. But
that's how you learn, right?
That's how we learn, exactly. But at the same time, you have to embrace all of those things. Those things are really good. So I can't single anyone out. It would just be disrespectful on my side.
Well,
yeah.
What I'm kind of maybe what would be better to say, or what I really kind of meant was, is there anybody out there that you've seen that you are excited to see compete? Because I'm a fan first. Like, I'm a fan of the sport too, just like I know like you are too, and not to say that one person's better than another person, but I'm interested to see certain people because maybe they get a lot of push in social media, or you can see them coming. And I've always I was excited to see this last year. I was excited to see Brandon come on stage because I knew I just felt in my heart that he was going to continue to make some nice improvements, and he would really have a shot. And I said that like 3 years ago. And so this last year was a year I really felt, and of course he did. He performed up to his and did well and won. But he was somebody that I was excited to see. In previous years, it's been people like Ramy. A lot of people were excited to see Hadi step on stage because he hadn't gotten a chance to compete in the United States on a big stage, and that was wonderful to see. And he impressed the hell out of me. He's got so much muscle.
Yeah.
So is there somebody out there that maybe nobody's heard of, or there's somebody out there that you've seen that, wow, this guy or gal looks exciting to you?
I haven't seen anyone out there which makes me go, wow, I cannot wait to see this guy on stage. But there are a number of individuals which I feel, all have the potential to do that. If Ramy masters his condition, I'm excited about that. First of all, I want to say congratulations to Brandon for winning the Olympia this year. Much deserved. I feel that Brandon's going to be an absolutely exceptional Mr. Olympia. I think he's already started on a really positive platform, to be honest with you. The way that he's holding himself, the way that he's carrying the industry, the way that he's embracing everybody. I think he's doing an amazing job of being Mr. Olympia. So big respect to him. But I'm looking forward to seeing all of these athletes back on stage in 2020. I think, let's be honest, I think that everyone around the world is looking forward to seeing the rematch between Hadi Chopper and Flex Lewis again.
Yeah.
Yes. At the same time, it would be unfair for us to single out those two athletes. Next year, I think it's going to be a real dogfight. I think that, Brandon knows that he has to he needs to improve on his condition if he's going to be competitive, at the highest level to win that title. Do I think that he can do? Yes, 100% I do. But what I'm saying is that if you have to be hypercritical here, is that next year we have a number of athletes who are going to be back on stage, and we also have athletes which can improve on their physiques. I did not see the best Willam Boca on stage in this year's Mr. Olympia. I thought that Willam looked small. I felt that he was lean, but he lacked that real hardness and that thick, dense muscle that we brought to the stage at the Arnold this year and obviously the years before. I feel that Willam is going to definitely do everything that he can to redeem himself. Now, he came second at this year's Mr. Olympia, so I'm not saying that his placing wasn't good, because it was his lifetime best placing, but I don't feel that was his lifetime best condition. And I know that Willam can improve on that. So my point is that the athletes that I see all have an equal opportunity of winning Olympia next year is going to be Hadi Chopper, Brandon Curry, Willam Boca, Flex Lewis. I think the favourite going into next year, if he makes a comeback, has got to be Phil Heath, just because of his past record of what he brought, because he brings that crazy fullness and refinement. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't step on stage next year. I would be very, very surprised. And of course, Ramy. There are going to be some people maybe a little disappointed because I haven't mentioned the names, but I'm just hypothetically speaking here because there's a lot of talent out there.
Oh yeah.
I just think that next year there's a lot of talent, and there's one athlete that I would have loved to have had the opportunity to work with at some point in the past, and that was Cedric McMillan, because Cedric's just got so much ability as an athlete to do so well. Yeah, it's one of those ones where you can think it's not in shape. And of course, I don't know Cedric on a personal level. I'm sure he's really hardworking, and I'm sure that his work with the armed forces obviously massively impacts what he does, etc. So it's not a negative comment; it's a constructive criticism. So I'm hoping that Cedric is able to bring something different to the stage. Again, I think it would be a masterpiece. But there's a lot of talent out there. But hey, listen, I just concentrate on my shit and my athletes, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on.
Well, this next year looks like an awesome year for you with all your athletes. I wish you so much success. You're already having it, so I don't think I really have to do that. But I appreciate you taking the time today. I know you're getting ready to go back home, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. And you've always been so wonderfully wonderful to me in the industry over the years, and we've known each other for a while, and I appreciate that about you. And you've always been very genuine and honest and sincere, and I appreciate those things as well. So thank you so much.
No, you're welcome, Tad. It obviously works both ways. I think we relate to each other in a lot of ways because where we started, all those things, and competed obviously in multiple different areas. And I also appreciate all you guys and girls at home, which hopefully you're going to be listening to. Tad, there's a lot of really great content, I would say, history. That a big shout out to a number of different individuals. I want to say a massive shout out to my sponsors and the people which support me. Product push, and I'm not actually pushing the product, I'm pushing and talking about a company that give me the ability to follow what I do. And also the IFBB for giving these opportunities for all these. Remember, the IFBB Pro League now has branched out in their own amateur division, and they've created a platform for amateur athletes to be able to compete at the very highest level on international stages and have the ability for is also. I just want a big shout out to everybody within the IFBB Pro League for giving these guys a platform and the ability to follow their own destination and dreams and their fitness goals.
All right, yep, absolutely. It's been a wonder, and I get an opportunity to work with, obviously, as a judge and stuff, and it's been an awesome opportunity, and I'm very thankful as well. It's been, this industry wouldn't be what it is today without Jim and his efforts over the years, and of course without the IFBB Pro League, and we're now worldwide. So now we've got all kinds of stuff going on. So tell everybody where they can reach you if they want to reach you and contact you.
So you guys can check me out on my Instagram page, which is Neil_Yoda_Hill1, and I have just launched an educational platform, just giving some daily tips on Y3T. So at Y3T World. So at Y3T World, I've just basically launched that maybe a week ago at the most, maybe 6 days ago actually, which is just going to be an educational Instagram page where I'll be sharing tips and information, so you guys and girls will be able to extract that information. And lastly, on the 22nd of this month, December, I'm going to be launching my free daily emails again. So about 18 months ago, I had to stop because I had a lot of commitments. I obviously spoke about what's taking place in 2020, and there's a lot of things I had to get done. And, my free daily emails, what I was writing was a detracting. It was obviously taking time away from my priorities. But on the 22nd of December, I'm going to be launching again, free of charge, guys, my free daily emails. And all you need to do is Google www.y3tdisciple.com. That will bring you to a landing page. And if you just subscribe to my free daily emails, you do not need to buy anything. So you don't need to buy an ebook. You don't need to buy anything from me at all. You just basically Google www.y3tdisciple.com. subscribe to my free daily emails, and then on the 22nd of December onwards, I will be sending out some great free content for you guys and girls at home.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. Hang on with me here after I stop the recording, but thank you again, Neil. I really appreciate your time, and I hope you make it back home safely, of course. And we will see each other more than likely at the Arnold, probably, right?
Yes, definitely, mate. I've just got my green light back from Bob with my pass. He sent that over today. So, yes, I will be at the Arnold's in Columbus. I'll be there at Australia. I'm looking forward to, obviously, be supporting all those promoters around the world where I can with the athletes.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, man. I always enjoy talking to you. You're always such a pleasure to talk to, and I appreciate it so much. But stay on the line real quick here, okay?
Okay, cool. No problems, buddy.
All right, thanks. Handle your high with Tadayoshi.